I just have to talk about this book again, The Heart of Fiction by Kate Roberts. I'll flip my camera in a second so you can see it. I've made several videos about how much this book has influenced my teaching this year. I'm reading it for the second time. Earlier this year, we read Refugee, and I used it to help guide my work with my students through that book. And now we are reading The Hunger Games, and I'm using it again. I'm going back through, I'm rereading it. I want to show you some of the awesome things that I have changed in my teaching as a result of this text. So I used to give a lot of graphic organizers for my students, and I used to scaffold those organizers, provide page numbers and things. And what I realized is that it was just students approached reading thinking oh, I read and I answer questions. I read and I answer questions. I find what my teacher wants me to find without it being student led or student directed. And I've totally shifted my thought process after reading this book. And maybe you guys are already there, but if you're not there and you're still giving a lot of graphic organizers and questions and answers, let me show you what I'm doing instead because of this book, and how I'm still providing scaffolds. So I've turned my camera around and I'm showing you kind of my screen, just my slide deck for today. And it used to be each day we focused on something different, and we still focus on different things each day, kind of in our mini lesson. But the big change is telling students you gotta think about all these things at once. And Kate Roberts does provide us graphic organizers in her book for us to use, but I'm providing a lot more choice for my students. So for example, we have already talked about, let's see if I can get these things up, about how setting influences character, plot, conflict, and we've brought in sketch notes this year. So instead of students filling out graphic organizers and putting page numbers down, I have this, and maybe I can do a slideshow for you all so that you can see. So we've talked about sketch noting in order to take notes about how setting influences character. Then this is actually taken from one of the graphic organizers that she provides in her book, kind of looking at character, not just through traits, but time and place and equity, suppression, relationships. And then I realized that relationships was so big, so I need a separate one for relationships. So I'm modeling this for students as they're reading. And kind of important moments. So I have this one. As I was reading, I was like, oh, there are a bunch of important moments, and I don't really know why yet, but I think they're going to come up. So I have a separate page of notes for important moments. Now, how I've provided choice and scaffolding is that those pages are how I'm modeling, and some students are choosing to use pages. Other students are choosing to use Post-its. I love Post-its and books. This is the first time that I have enough copies of the book that students get to take their book back and forth between class and Post-it their book. I love it. So I do have some students that are like sketchnoting, and they're using these sketch notes. And we can see one here for character where they've kind of done a four square here. So some students are doing that. Other students are just using Post-it notes, and I wish I had a student book here to show you some of these student books where they just have Post-its throughout. Now, something that way I'm scaffolding, you're like, some of my students aren't there, they wouldn't stop, they wouldn't slow down. Yeah, my kids don't slow down either. So sometimes for some of my kids that just need to be slowed down, it's kind of like a hunt. Find these things as you read, and I give them 3 or 4 Post-its during their independent reading time that I want them to find as they're reading. So kind of they need to stop and jot these things down. Other students, okay, I've got that, and then I've got this. Other students I will give 4 Post-its to with page numbers. So I'm not telling them what to find, but on those pages I've noticed something significant in my own book. And if you don't already do this, I definitely say buy a book yourself and mark it up. And then they're doing it this way. So these are 2 different ways I scaffold without graphic organizers. Now I do have some kids still that need graphic organizers, and I give it to them. I either take the ones out of Heart of Fiction that she provides to you, because she'll show student work, and then she's also got optional tools, or I'll make one up myself, or the special education teacher will make up. I want to show you one last thing. So because students are thinking about their text on their own and having choice in how they think about the text and how they show what they're reading, I'm taking small groups of kids and they're showing me their Post-its or they're showing me their papers, and I'm asking them questions and they're going back to it. And we're having really rich conversations as a result. And I want to show you this. I'm going to show you a piece of writing that a student just sent me. They literally just sent this to me, I don't know, half an hour ago. It was after class. So they were still thinking about what they read after class as a result of the quote that we started class with. So today we do start with either a close reading or a quote, and this is what we started with today. It's to the capital's advantage to have us divided among ourselves. What's the significance of this line? and we talked about it. So this is kind of what like got us engaged today within our lesson. And let me show you what one student wrote. He sent me this Google Doc, Walls of Tyranny. Every free nation must have a barrier against tyranny. It cannot be divided into many segments like sand or a few such as boulders. Tyranny will slip through the cracks. It cannot be one of wood. It will crack and break. It cannot be one of concrete or glass. It will shatter once breached. Steel, however, will survive, but even steel will corrode. I mean, this is a seventh grader who wrote this. I've Googled it twice now, and I think this might be their own words that they sent to me after class, still thinking about this. And I really don't think I would have such rich thought put into it if I was still passing out graphic organizers. Chapter 1, here are 10 questions. I don't think I would be reaching this depth with my students. So, again, I'm sure I'll keep talking about this book. This is, if you're an English teacher and you read novels with your class, which I encourage, although I know some divisions don't, this is definitely something you want. This is not paid. I've never met Kate Roberts. I'm just giving you my feedback.